fam. Back. Back. Back.
What's good? What's good? Welcome to another episode of 4133 the podcast. And we back for the fourth one. We made it. It feels good to be here, but job not finished, job not done. So Nick, how you feeling, bro?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. It's been a long season, but it's all worth it when you make it to the Super Bowl, man. It's the second time in 3 years. This team is signed through next year. Youngest defense in the league. This could turn into a multi-year thing. But we got to get through this game first, right? But I'm feeling pretty confident about it. Not gonna lie, I feel like this. A lot of things are going the Eagles' way. It feels like this is their year, so I'm very excited about this upcoming matchup.
Yeah, I think when I look at the matchup a little bit, like not really coming off like the 55 piece. Like I don't even look at that as like a measuring stick of where we're at as a team, right? It's like I think we should have beat them like that. I think it was like, dude, like we was out here talking and we was being kind of modest, you know what I mean? Because that's just us. Me and Nick, we the modest fans. But I think we should have beat them. Like it should have been handily. Like when I look at the energy of our team right now, though, is what's really like driving me to feel like confidence. Like it's exuding out of the locker room right now. Like not overly confident where you think it's like cocky, but it's to the point where like we know what the job is, we know what we have to do, we know what we need to do, and that's what we're gonna do to get the job done. We're not gonna overextend and do a bunch of extra stuff. It's just like it feels good to know like everybody's on the same page. And then to hear Jordan Mailata come out early in this week and they ask him like, what makes you feel like the team is closer? He's just like, the bond that we've done as a team, the things we've done to really make strives to be better. Spending time going to dinners, going to events, things to do together, like just to build as brothers. That's everything I'm hearing, bro. Is just like the right path to being like confident. And then the numbers that you put on the field match up. You know what I mean? When you look at what's going on the field, you look at the communication between the back end of the defense, how they're communicating and passing things off. You can tell they're comfortable being around each other. They're comfortable in their role and they're bought in. So it's not only we're building a brotherhood, we're also learning together in the system we believe in.
Yeah, and it's crazy that, whenever they have an injury, especially on defense, they're able to plug someone else in, and it's just as smooth as, when they had all their starters out there, right? It's a testament to this team overall buying in, everyone understanding their role, staying locked in even when their moment wasn't there yet, when they had to wait for their moment to come up. And when they got put in the lineup, they've been making plays like Oren Burks, um, Isaiah Rodgers throughout the season has made plays at big times, and other guys as well. But you start to see some of these guys step up. Jalex Hunt had a big game last game. You see him start to grow. But it's like this whole defense, for the most part, I shouldn't say the whole defense, but a lot of key pieces are coming back to this team next year. And it's like they're already the best defense in the league. What is the ceiling for this defense when they get to add pieces, not reload, and there'll be a little retooling, but you get to add pieces to the defense and continue building and growing. It's going to be amazing to see what this team can become. But it's going to be important for this defense this week, stepping up against Pat Mahomes as he goes for a three-peat. He is he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game already at such a young age. Usually you reserve that for older players, but what he's been able to do so far in his career, every single year as a starter, has gone to the AFC Championship game. I mean, that's nothing to scoff at, right? But you said it though. This team's playing really well together. Overall, offense and defense, they're bought in for each other. They fight for each other. You see Cam Jurgens with a gritty performance last week when he was having to play injured, right, and playing well for the most part. You see just the emotion they have at the end of the game with like CJ and Nick Sirianni having that moment together. You could tell that they really fight for each other. And that allows you to achieve something better and bigger than you can as individuals, right? So I will say you did say that they were confident, but not too confident. You could definitely see that defense on the field, though. They like to talk a little shit. They know they're the best, and they'll tell you that they're the best on the field, especially Jalen Carter. You see Nolan Smith, too, talking a lot of crap. So it is fun to see. I like to see that a little bit. But and I feel
I
like this
think
team's just a little
Coop
bit too
surprised me the
confident
most.
right now.
Hearing Coop talking a little junk was like probably the most surprising of them all. I was like,
Yeah.
what? All right.
Yeah, but they're playing so confident right now. To me, it just feels like this feels like their year to me. You know, it's they've been playing so well, especially on defense, but on both sides of the ball when they've had to step up in moments. Not everything's been smooth, but when they've had to step up, they've stepped up. It just feels like this is their year to take down this Kansas City Chiefs team.
I feel like when I'm watching the games, the last 3 weeks, right? Um, it seems like the emotions for the team to me, right, is starting to like come to the top. It's like it seems like they're listening, maybe not feeding into it all the way, Nick. Like they're not feeding into like the narrative, but they hear it constantly. And then it's like, okay, we beat the Packers. Okay, we beat the Rams. They still talk about us? Okay, 55 on the Commanders. And it's like the emotion I seen in that Commanders game from Jalen, AJ, Saquon, like Jordan Mailata, like the emotion was like, you gonna continue to disrespect us? Okay, cool. That's what we played 20 weeks of football, and this is still where we're at. Like it seems like week by week, you could just see it like building up, and it's like I got a feeling, like a real feeling, like the championship. Because Jalen keeps saying like, I don't think it's a time to reflect. I don't think this is the time to reflect. So I don't know if like winning is the time to reflect, winning it all, but I'm waiting to see. I think it could get real. Like,
Yeah, I mean, and the job's not finished, right? So you can only reflect on those things to a certain degree, right? You know, usually get your 24-hour rule after the game, no matter what happens. Either you lick your wounds after a loss, or you celebrate after a win. But it's 24 hours, and then you're on to the next game, preparing for the next matchup, right? And it's no different right here. They can't act like this is a different week and everything's different now that it's the Super Bowl. Still need to go into with your same preparation, your same mindset that what got you here. And I feel like they're going to be ready. I mean, Nick has had this team ready all year, especially after the bye week. They came back together and they've been playing really well. So I'm very excited for this matchup. They got too much going for them right now. You look at the matchup with the Chiefs, like the Chiefs are roughly around a top 15 offense. Their defense is top 10, bordering on that, whereas the Eagles are top number one defense, top 7 in most metrics on offense. It's like, and they're the underdog. They're the 1.5 point underdog. It's like they've been the favorites by Vegas, for the entire postseason, but by the media, they've still been disrespected. And I look at this match, I look at this matchup, and I really feel like the Eagles are the team that should be favorite. I know they got Pat Mahomes. I know they've only lost one game this season, but you look at this team on paper and on film and what they put together. The Eagles should be the team that's favorited here.
even though we're not favored this year, but you know, so like, okay, I mean, we ain't got to really dig into the whole. You know what I'm saying? Because we still got a whole nother show to do, a whole nother hour before we get prepared to celebrate. Hopefully being Super Bowl champion. What did you see from that Commanders game though that kind of maybe stood out to you that you haven't maybe seen previously?
That I haven't seen previously. I mean, I'm not too sure, but the things that stand out to you are just really the things that this team has done all year. If you want to start defensively, is they do a really good job with their spacing, with taking away what your offense wants to do. Like when you would think about back to when Belichick was in the playoffs and he was facing a hot offense, he always would take away what your primary and your go-to players were, right, and force the offense to beat you in some other way. And you look at the Eagles' offense, they force you to get off your number one read. They don't just let you have these routes to their go-to players or let you have your go-to run plays, right? They take away what you do best. And then when you're having to go through your second, third, fourth reads, then the pass rush is getting home, right? So it's a marriage of the coverage with the back end matching up together, and on top of like having the play calls to go with it as well. So I saw that was a big factor in the game against the Commanders. For the most part, they were able to take advantage of a lot of the tendencies that the Commanders have, especially on offense. The Commanders' offense isn't very diverse. It's not super complicated. They do a lot of the similar things over and over again. They're very tendency heavy on certain areas, right? And the Eagles were able to take advantage of that. The Chiefs do a much better job of mixing up their looks and changing things up and keeping you off balance, but they have some tendencies that you can attack as well. But offensively, it was just domination where they were efficient in all areas of the game, running the ball, passing the ball. When you put it all together, it's like then you see these 55-point games, right? Whereas when our offense is so good, we can get sacked 7 times by the Rams and still should have put up 30 points, right? Off of 2 missed extra points, off of they also had some other miscues, right? But when they get sacked 7 times and still can put up 30 points, that speaks to how good your offense is versus when you put everything together, then you're boat racing teams, right? And you look at what this Chiefs team does, they don't hit a lot of explosives. Are they going to be able to keep up with the Eagles? Really, right? A lot of people are worried about Mahomes, but they don't put up points in bunches like the Eagles can. Can they keep up with an Eagles attack that can put up points on you in a hurry, right? So it'll be interesting to see, though.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because I think we could do everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think we could do a little bit of everything, right? I think we can attack them in the run because I see the how things went with the Bills and with Joe Mixon, right? I think they both had an opportunity to run it, but I think both teams did the inevitable and they started going away from the run, right? They started loading up on the pass. I just want Kellen Moore and the offense just say what we do best, man. Like, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? You just do your thing, man. You run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and then, I mean, it's gonna eventually open up because Saquon is one of those guys where he can go 4, 4, 5, 6, 4, 20, 30. You know what I mean? He could easily break off. So I think like, you know, I seen the stat where they've never had somebody rush for 100 yards, right? But then it's also skewed because they've never had anybody with over 18 carries either.
Yeah, and the interesting part about that is like the Chiefs games are kind of grinded out games. They are 15th in points per game, 16th in yards per game, 23rd in yards per play, but they're 10th in points per drive. Like they put together these long drives, which kind of limits how many plays that their defense is seeing. Their defense is good, no doubt. It's a top 10 defense in many aspects, especially when they're fully healthy and they got all their secondary out there. It's a good defense. And they're not just going to let you go out there and do like what the Commanders did. They're going to take good pursuit angles to the football. They're not going to give up these giant rushing plays like you see against the Rams, against the Commanders, at as high of a rate as they will. Now, it's a little bit different when you got Saquon Barkley out there and behind this offensive line. When you put that together, there hasn't been a team in the league really that's been able to slow that down, right? So am I expecting the Chiefs are a good defense? Am I expecting them to come out and be able to shut down this rushing attack? I don't think so. And then it looks like they're really starting to figure out their game plan with what they, especially last game, with how they wanted to attack through the air. I thought it was a good game plan. I am interested to see what happens with Spags, so I think that is a wild card there, is what can he come up with? What are some of the tricks up his sleeve that he will do? The guy's won, 3 or 4 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator now. There's a reason why. He has been a very good coach. I think that is probably my biggest concern on offense. I think wherever the biggest mismatch is, I think that's between the coaching, their defensive coaching versus our offensive coaching. You know, I think, are they able to create some turnovers? We saw fumble return for a touchdown the last time these teams played. There was a lot of tight window throws from Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense. Are they able to, you know, mix things up enough to keep them off balance and create some negative plays that doesn't allow us to lean on the run game?
I think the biggest difference from 2022 to 2025 is in that game in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, Jalen Hurts had to be the best passer and the best rusher in that game. I don't think he. I don't. I'm hoping he doesn't have that responsibility again this year. I don't think he will. I haven't seen anybody. Well, I have seen a couple of teams statistically slow down Saquon, but I'm just a little. I'm a little on the side of. Will we have the same passing game we had last time with the 300 yards? I mean, like I've seen Jalen put up 300 plus passing against Spags twice. So I mean, the last time he only had 150. I really don't know what the problem was because I look at it. AJ Brown only had like one catch for like 9 yards. So I mean, I think Smitty had to walk off at the end of the game because MVS ended up dropping the touchdown. But I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna put what's the All Pro name for them?
They got is McDuffie All Pro this year.
I think they're gonna put him on Smitty.
Jalen Watson's pretty good at corner too, though. What's
I
up?
think they're gonna put McDuffie on Smitty though.
Yeah.
I think they'll put Watson because he's a bigger corner on AJ.
Yeah. And
I don't know how he's ranked because we ain't that far, but I think that probably will be the matchup. McDuffie too small. He'll get bullied.
yeah, and I haven't dove too much into the defense yet. My next videos coming out are going to be about the offense slowing down Kansas City, Mahomes, Kelsey. Xavier Worthy is actually a guy that he's been used in an interesting way, but he's second in the team in targets, 110 targets, including the playoffs, right? So you got to figure out what they're doing. They do a lot of gimmick stuff with him, but regardless of what they do, it's not going to be like they're not going to come out and do one thing on defense. They're not just going to live in one coverage, one blitz. It's going to be a bunch of different looks, different fronts. It's going to be different coverages, I imagine. I feel like they're going to rotate between cover two, quarters. There will be times when they come with all-out blitz. That's the thing with Spags. He doesn't just he changes things up so much and gives you different looks, different exotic pressures. There's going to be pressures, I bet you, that they run that they haven't run all year. We saw that against the Commanders. The Commanders came out with some pressures that they didn't run all year until they played the Eagles, right? So I feel like it's going to be similar when you have 2 weeks of prep going against this Eagles team. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the fundamentals. It comes down to winning in the trenches, winning the physicality battle, being smart, assignment, sound football, not turning it over. That's going to be a huge part. I think whoever wins their turnover battle definitely has a huge advantage in this game. Neither team turns the ball over very much, and they can take the ball away, both of them, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But he's going to have some exotic looks to give to the team. How does Jalen handle those? Does his eyes start to drop? Does he start to scramble around? Or do they have a plan to help out Jalen, get him some easy looks, get him out of the pocket, some things like that?
I mean, did it make you feel some type of way? I mean, kind of when Sirianni said the bulk of the game plan was pretty much put together?
No, not just when you know how game planning goes through 4 games, it's like, and everything that leads into it. First of all, they have entire teams and staffs and analysts and that are dedicated to putting together these game plans. Like your position coaches are going to handle certain parts of the game plan. Your offensive line coach, your receiver coach, all your position coaches, but you have analysts that oftentimes are working ahead of time to give you the tendency breakdowns, to tell you what are their favorite formations that they like to run, what are their base plays out of these formations, what do they like to do on certain downs and distances, what do they do in the red zone, all that different type of stuff. A lot of that you already know coming into the game, into the week. They work weeks ahead of time. Even if you're not sure who was going to be the team that you played, you have these analysts that can prepare this stuff for the head coach and the coaching staff leading into the week. And then when you look at what they're doing to put together their weekly game plan, all of that stuff is usually done by like Monday or Tuesday. And then what you're doing from there is you're preparing your practice week based off of your game plan. It is very common. It is almost vital that you have your game plan in when you're creating your practice plan throughout the week. So, okay, Wednesday, we're working on red zone and third down. Thursday, we're working on our first down plays, our 2-minute drills, stuff like that. So you have to have that stuff done early in the week so that you can so that you can practice it and work on it for the guys throughout the week. But they're going to still go through. You have 2 weeks. You're going to go back and look at things, some special plays you can add in, some things that you're going to continue to tinker with the game plan a little bit. But the base stuff that you're going to do is already in. And you know, as a defense and as an offense, what do you do well against certain formations and certain looks, and what plays you're going to run at this point in the season. So what, 20 weeks of football now, 21 weeks of football. They know what they're going to do, right? So I'm not that concerned that they already know that.
I think it's interesting when you look at a little bit of the differences from last year to this year. I see somebody say this team is way better than 2022 team, right? What would you say? Would you take 2022 roster or 2025 roster?
No, I'd take this roster here. They're better at key areas that you need to be good at, right? And that's the offensive line's similar, but I think this offensive line is better. And then particularly in the trenches, they got a lot of praise for that team because they almost broke the sack record that year, but they weren't very good against the run. It's hard to have sustained success in the playoffs if you don't have a good run defense, and that came to bite them in the ass in the playoffs, where did they necessarily have a ton of rushing yards? If you look at the total rushing yards, Kansas City had a good amount, but some of it was Mahomes scrambles. It's not like they were grounding and pounding the whole game, but it allowed them to stay ahead of the sticks. It allowed them to not get in bad positions in terms of down and distance, right? So when you have a good run defense, it allows you to put the team in second and long, 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10. When you can get teams into those situations consistently, it makes it a lot easier to game plan for the offense. There's very specific things that teams like to do, and especially this Chiefs team, what they like to do on 2nd and long. And they're in 2nd and long a lot because their run game isn't very good. So just the trenches, the physicality that they play with, their coverage on the back end, actually would say is fairly similar in terms of how good they were at passing off routes and stuff like that. But I think they're better game plan wise. I think Fangio takes it a step up with what he's able to do to game plan and take away what you do best as an offense compared to what Gannon was able to do. So I think they have the advantage in that area. But roster wise, I would take this. I would take this Eagles roster. They're more experienced at key positions as well in terms of like on the offensive side of the ball. Jalen at quarterback, his second chance at a Super Bowl. AJ and Devontae, their second time being in the same situation as well. Then you drop in a 2,000-yard rusher. It's like then things aren't nearly as comparable at that point in time.
A lot of people I'm just listening to, and they just like. People that I talk to, I mean, I know the media is saying like this team is all time great for the Chiefs, but I talk to people that just like they believe like our team got better and they kind of like stayed the same. Like they got a bunch of big names, right? They got all these guys, but like none of them are really factors. Like D Hop, Hollywood, I mean Juju, they don't really play big factors in the offense. And I said if I had to say the threats on their offense, to me, it would be the 3 tight ends before anybody. Like and maybe Xavier Worthy in that. Like it'd probably be like to me, it'd be to me Watson, Gray, Worthy, and Kelsey. Like I think those are the 4 guys you that get the main bulk of it. The other guys, yeah, they're names, but they're not really particularly active in offense. They're more distractions than targets.
Yeah, it's an interesting offense to look at. This is definitely not an all-star Kansas City offense. Like this is not the same scary Kansas City offense like when they had Tyreek and Kelsey and they were just able to score at any point from anywhere on the field. They're last in explosive run rate. They're 27th in explosive pass rate, which I count as passes 20 plus yards. It's very much, I like to think of them. They're kind of like the circus Chiefs. They do so much gadget stuff, so much misdirection stuff. They're 5th in RPO rate, 7th in screen rate. They have the 4th most wide receiver runs run plays, right? So those aren't even including the jet sweeps. They do it. Their average depth at target is 43rd. Mahomes is 43rd out of 46 qualifying quarterbacks with a minimum of 100 pass attempts. Mahomes is like he is orchestrating like a it's a death by a million paper cuts type offense where he's not pushing the ball down the field a whole lot. He's getting the ball of his hands quick, but it's very much a lot of gimmicks, a lot of gadgets, a lot of quick game, stuff like that. But they're not like you're not that worried about them like going and hitting a 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown. Can Xavier Worthy do that? Sure, he hasn't really done that this year. He has a speed, of course, to break off big plays, but Travis Kelce's averaging the lowest yards per reception of his career, lowest yards after catch per reception of his career. What else? Lowest yards per route run of his career, right? So this isn't the same Travis Kelce. This isn't. It's really Mahomes trying to get the band together and orchestrate and keep together a good offense because it's not. They don't have a ton of weapons right now. They're not a scary offense that is just marching up and down the field, hitting big plays. They're having to be methodical. Is that going to work out against an Eagles defense that doesn't let you give up big plays as well? They rally to the ball quickly, they tackle well, they force you to move on to your different reads, and then they can get pressure that way. They force a lot of turnovers. So if you are going to try and dink and dunk all the way down the field, are you going to be able to continue doing that all game without getting turnovers here or there? It'll be interesting to see, but it's not. I look at this Chiefs offense and it's like Mahomes makes crazy plays happen, but it's a hard offense, man. Sometimes they're sluggish and they get a little constipated too. We hear Lane Johnson saying our offense feels constipated at times. The Chiefs are as well at times. They're just not hitting a bunch of explosives, So it's hard work for them every time they have to score. And for that reason, you don't see them. They haven't really put up a huge scoring game throughout the season. I think they have a couple of games where they score 30 points, but a lot of their games are in the 20s. They don't have stinkers where they're putting up 10 points, but they're going to be sitting in that 18 to 25 point range, just because Mahomes is so efficient. Kelce, even if he isn't hitting a bunch of explosive plays, he can help keep the chains moving. They have the second best third down rate, so it's like they can keep things moving, but it's just you don't have Tyreek Hill that you throw a slant to and he's going to take it to the house.
I mean, Xavier Worthy has the ability to get outside on you, but I don't. It's kind of been like, to me, like when I watch the offense, like watching a little bit of the tape, watching some of their breakdowns, it's a lot of like just if you're disciplined, if your eyes are paying attention to what's going on, you can be in the right place. But it's a lot of like, and then it's just like, oh, that person's open. But I noticed, to me, Xavier Worthy isn't more of a guy that's up and down the field. He's more like how do you call it? Like kind of like almost like a roundabout route across the middle a lot, where he gets hit and then he takes it outside and usually scores. Or he likes to do the drags. He's not really a super slanty guy. He always kind of rounds it off a little bit, where it kind of curves at the top of the route. But I notice he's not a lot of, because people are like, oh, he's fast. And I'm like, yeah, but the way they use him isn't like Randy Moss, where he's running fly routes. He's running more of the like underneath stuff where they give him an opportunity to get the ball early and kind of make a move, make decisions in open field.
Yeah, and the problem with that is, he's fast, right? So if he can get an angle on you, then yeah, he can beat that angle. But and the NFL, man, these guys are fast as well. They're, for the most part, are able to take angles to cut you off and force you back. He's not built like Tyreek Hill. Tyreek is a thick dude. Like, he is a well-built, stocky guy, despite being, 5'9". He's a different type of guy. He was a running back some of his years in college, right? So he was that type of player. So Xavier Worthy will get those type of plays, but he's not necessarily generating a ton of explosives off of that. He's not breaking a bunch of tackles when he's getting to the edge. They get him to the flat a lot on, whether it's going to be just routes directly to the flat, or if they're running bubble routes, screens to the sideline, things like that. A lot of gadget plays. You have to be alert for wide receiver reverses, especially when they're under center and he's aligned tight. When they're in condensed sets, they're going to use them on a bunch of jet sweeps, things like that. drag routes like you mentioned, especially against man coverage. But you're right, they don't send him down the field a whole lot. On longer down and distances, 3rd and 7 to 10, they will. But outside of that, it's a lot of underneath stuff, a lot of quick stuff, little gadget plays. So it'll be interesting to see he actually leads the team in touchdowns in the red zone. When you look at all of his plays in the red zone, all of his touchdowns in the red zone, they're trying to get him to the flat quickly and out leverage you, and he beats guys on those plays to the end zone on plays like that. So you have to be alert with where he's lined up based on a number of different factors. I'm going to talk about it when I go in depth on one of my videos about this Chiefs offense. But you have to be aware for him in the red zone and how they try and get him to the flat and out leverage guys so that he can race to the pylon and squeeze in touchdowns that way. But it's not an offense that's attacking vertically down the field. It's just his average depth of target is 8.9 yards. It's really not far, especially when you look at Terry McLaurin's last week with something like 13 yards per target. It's like they aren't pushing the ball down the field. So you can sit on routes underneath, but you have to be good rallying to the ball and tackling. But again, when they're throwing short and throwing underneath, they're not generating a lot of explosive plays. It's like 5 to 8 yard plays that they hit on stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see, though. Is it going to be like a million paper cuts like we see from the Tom Brady offenses of the past? It's similar to what they do, but Pat Mahomes can create a little bit more with his legs than Tom Brady obviously could.
The Chiefs right now, it looks like they're 13th.
In time of possession?
Yeah, 30, looks like it's 30-28.
Yeah, and a big problem for them with that is because of the fact that they pass the ball so much, right? The clock doesn't get to stay running, so when they throw in completions, the clock stops, things like that. But when they score on touchdown drives, it's a long plays per drive when they score.
I think that's the scary part of the offense, man. That ending around play, bro, when Bertie comes around. But I think something that did stand out to me in the Commanders game, I asked you earlier, and when you brought it up, it kind of the defense seemed to recognize keys. Maybe not the first time. You might run it one time and kind of get away. When you run it back, it was like, I can't remember exactly the play I see on the All-22, but the second time they ran the play, you might remember. Like, Zach Bond kind of like realizes what's going on. He kind of like notices it. Like maybe a tense just in time, like when he notices it's going on, he's like, oh, they ran this before. He kind of like gets in position for like to break it up. It just seems like they seen it. And you pointed out one that I didn't even realize with the Eckler. He's like in that little position tight. When Oren Burks like kind of realizes he's out in the flat, he's like, oh, let me get out here. I think that was the fumble too. It's like they're starting to realize like what Fangio's teaching them in the film. So, what you think?
Yeah, and definitely. I mean, and that's stuff that's been going on all year. But as you get more comfortable with the defense, it's like you're just able to retain more information, right? When you're understanding your role and your job and your assignment more and more each week, then you can continue adding on to what other keys you're looking out for, what formational tells can you get a hold of, and prepare yourself to anticipate what types of plays that you're going to get from the opposing team. But Fangio's been around this league for such a long time. He knows how to figure out and point out certain formational tendencies based on personnel, where you're at on the field, down and distance, stuff like that. Now, what the Chiefs do really well and what Andy Reid does really well is, outside of the fact that they do just pass the ball a ton at a pretty high rate, especially once you get them into if they're not able to keep ahead of the sticks, they're not like the Eagles where they're bottom 10 in the league in pass rate when they're in second and 7 to 10. The Chiefs are top 10 in pass rate in those situations, right? So they're going to pass the ball more, but they mix up what they do with their formations, with their motions, with their personnel grouping a lot, that it keeps you off balance to a degree. But there's still things that you can key on and take away. If Xavier Worthy is aligned tight to the line of scrimmage, and they're particularly in condensed formations, and especially when they're under center, that's when you start to see more of the reverses and end arounds, or you might see them run the jet sweeps, things like that. When you see them in shotgun and Xavier Worthy is on the same side as the running back, and especially if it's like a condensed formation, you're going to start to see him leak out into the flat or run bubble RPOs off of that play fake of the running back going the opposite direction of Xavier Worthy. If Xavier Worthy is in the slot on the opposite side of the running back, a lot of times he's sweeping across the formation, and they have the running back coming across the other way. So there's keys that you can
That
point
little
out and look to.
play I was telling you about.
Yeah, there's
He
things
double.
you
Okay.
can look to and key on. Yeah. There's things you can key on, right? But I think Fangio will be prepared for it. When you go back and you look at their matchup against the Dolphins last year, he did a really good job. Or excuse me, when he was with the Dolphins against the Chiefs, he did a really good job of taking away what they like to do best, changing up the based on formations and stuff like that, changing the throwing windows that they like to attack. Because the Chiefs' offense, they really like to attack certain specific parts of the field, especially in their quick game. Can you change up who's rotating there based on, are we playing cover three? How are we playing cover three? Are we playing quarters? Are we playing cover six? Just changing who is fitting into these different areas that the Chiefs like to throw to, trying to keep Mahomes off balance and wondering, oh, is a defensive lineman dropping into this quick throw window that we've been taking advantage of earlier in the game? Fangio's really good at, figuring that stuff out throughout the game with his preparation coming into the game and then figuring out mid-game, is this the game plan that we were expecting to get, and then adjusting from there. So I'm really excited to see Fangio matched up with Andy Reid.
Yeah, to me, Kansas City, like to me, they remind me of Golden State, like in their heyday, with the pick and roll. You know what I'm saying? They get the matchup they want. I think that's how they use like a lot of their players. They move Kelsey here and there. They get the matchup on the linebacker they want or the safety they want. They move Xavier kind of to get the matchup in the secondary they want. It's a lot of emotion to kind of like setting screens. Like they making you switch it. You can't switch from way over there unless you're in man. So if you in zone, we finna make Orrin Burks make a decision between covering two guys coming out. He gonna come out and go this way, and one gonna go that way, and Orrin Burks gonna be stuck in the middle. And if he second guess what he's been taught, which is what they're hoping on, then he's in a trouble situation. But knowing where you leverage at, knowing where you have help at, being able to just adjust in those moments. Like I seen some plays where we could have probably played better defense in that Commanders game and not gave up some of those yards. But having outside leverage, knowing you got inside help, okay, now I can play him a little bit different. I can play a little bit more aggressive out here and know if I get him inside, I got somebody that's tracking him back in. I can pass him off. If I got outside leverage with help, if I got inside leverage with help over the top, use the sideline as an extra defender. It's things you could do to get people out of but that's what you got to do with them. You know what I mean? You got to understand because they're playing if you say the fundamentals of making you make a mistake. They've done this so many times. It's like, what I'm saying? It's just like rhythm. They get into it, especially with Kelsey. He gets in those little bubbles of the defense where he can just sit down, boom. He run up and boom. It's just like he knows where you're gonna be. I think the biggest thing for me in this game, like offensively or defense, offensively not making a mistake, but forcing them to make a few mistakes. And it's not always turnovers. It's just making an overthrow on third down, making them rush it on third down to get it to somebody, and it's a little bit earlier than expected. Now they got to punt. Just forcing them to do things they don't want to do, get out of character. I think that's the biggest difference I think we'll have this time. Like everybody knows from 2022, we got no sacks in the Super Bowl. I mean, that was a problem for me, but I think this time we have a little bit better of a. I know the numbers don't probably back me up. I think we have a better pass rush as a unit this year than we did in 2022.
Well, what's important is, especially going against Pat Mahomes, when you watch some of the games that they were playing, they would give up pressure around the edges, but they'd have a firm pocket for him to step up into. And when Mahomes can sit back there and he can step up in the pocket and he can like do his Pat Mahomes thing where he runs around and finds a quiet part of the pocket, like he can deal from there, right? But when you're generating pressure up the middle when you can condense the pocket, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sacks, right? But can you generate pressure? Can you affect the passer where he feels more uncomfortable with that pressure advancing into his face as opposed to coming around the sides where he can step up, right? The Eagles have done a good job of that. Obviously, Jalen Carter being on the team helps to constrict the pocket from the middle, but Milton Williams is going to be a big factor there as well. And then you look at someone asked what's the biggest flaw of the Chiefs. If you look at whatever is going to happen on the left side of their offensive line, they moved their left tackle is really bad, and so they ended up benching him. They tried to rotate a couple different guys at left tackle this year, wasn't going well, so they moved All Pro left guard Joe Tooney to left tackle, and then they put in this guy Mike Caliendo at left guard. He's not very good. I'm going to be interested to see what they do. Do they move Tooney back to guard to match up with Milton Williams, who has been one of the best pass rushers in the NFL this year from the interior, right? Or are they going to give us that matchup? And then, or maybe what do they try and do is they slide the majority of the time to Caliendo and give Milton Williams a double team, and then let Trey Smith, who's very good in his own right, have a lot of one-on-one opportunities with Jalen Carter. Either way, Fangio's got to figure out ways where if they're not generating pressure and pushing the pocket and condensing the pocket from the middle, using different stunts, different blitzes, different sim pressures. I think there's going to be a lot of sim pressures in this game. But just doing different things to make Mahomes uncomfortable in the pocket where he can't just sit there and get the ball out quick and sit there and just go through his reads comfortably. You have to make him work and move around in the pocket. Don't let him escape the pocket, but force him to have to dance and move around in the pocket. And I think you can get some wins that way, even if it's not necessarily turning into sacks like you're saying or turning into turnovers, but getting overthrows, getting bad reads, getting throwaways, things like that.
The biggest flaw of the Chiefs, I can't argue with that. So I'm not gonna say that I can't. I can't argue with that because that dude at left guard is, whoo, he's getting whooped. But I think the dude Jawan Taylor's pretty bad too. I mean, he gets a lot of the early starts, but he gets whooped even though he tries to do the Lane Johnson. Like he's not really great on that right tackle, but they're so good up front. It's like you said, like usually the front is holding up so well, he could just step in and kind of be protected by the three guys right there in the middle, kind of make his little moves here and there, and then he finally finds somebody. I think, but I think Jalen Carter, to me, is gonna be able to still be able to wreck shop in that middle. I know those guys are good, but I think Jalen Carter causes a problem for anybody. So if you ask me the biggest flaw, I think the biggest flaw is the fact that they don't have explosive plays on offense. I think their inability to push the ball upfield is probably the biggest flaw to me. Because everything is underneath. If you start to put them in 3rd and 6th, 3rd and 7th, and they're dumping the ball down, you can make the tackle before it sticks, then you're in a good position with the Chiefs. And they're not really a aggressive team where they're going to be like, oh, 4th and 8, we're going for it. It's like, no, they're kicking. They're taking the points. They're going to come back and believe that their offense can get points later. They're going to settle for the 2. They're playing the numbers.
Yeah, Reed is definitely he's definitely scared to go for it on 4th down. I think they're bottom 10 in the league in 4th down attempts per game, despite the fact that they played a lot of close games this year, right? You'd think that a team in a lot of close games is going to be a little bit more aggressive, but that's kind of not been Andy Reid. He's kind of taken some of these coward punts and coward kicks, unlike what the Commanders did last week, where they were like, hey, we're going to keep going for it for a large part of our 4th downs, right? You don't get that with the Chiefs. But they have issues running the ball 27th in yards per carry. They don't generate explosive. It's just hard for them to consistently move the ball. And I mean, they're still 10th in points per game, right? So that's, 15th in points per game, but 10th in points per drive. So it's not like they're the worst offense in the world, but you go up against the number 1 defense in the NFL. We've just been, containing, we're at least containing some of the best offenses in the league. We might not be shutting them down, but you're making them work. And are they going to consistently be able to have these long drives that end up in touchdowns? The odds are no, you're not going to be able to do that stuff, right? So you have to be able to generate explosives somehow. They're going to have some creative Andy Reid type plays, but they generally do that stuff when they get closer in the high red zone around the 25-yard line and end is when they start to do more Xavier Worthy run plays, reverses, stuff like that. Some of those crazy formations you see with Travis Kelce at quarterback and Pat Mahomes is lined up at running back, and you got three dudes in the backfield, stuff like that. They're gonna have some plays like that, so you're gonna have to be able to take that stuff away. But even when they come out with these crazy plays, they don't hit big home runs off of them, right? It's like they just get like 5-6 yards on those plays, and they try and stay ahead of the sticks that way. But I don't know. It's going to be hard if the Eagles are able to get up on them. They aren't the team that's really built to really come back from behind and pass the ball all over the yard. Pat Mahomes is great at it, right? He can do it, but they don't have the guys that are going to go and flip the field consistently when they get down.
Oh, my bad. Sis, Shakira. What's happening? Appreciate y'all for popping in. Hey, man, there's 200 people in here. If y'all haven't yet, y'all on the X side, y'all on the YouTube side, if you on my side and you haven't went to that side, make sure you go over to Philly Film Room. They've actually changed the format, man. Things are a lot more consumable for the people that don't want to watch an hour. I mean, I don't mind the hour. I enjoy the hour plays. You know what I'm saying? I watch the live. You know, it's fun, you know, just sit down, listen to the ball talk for me. But everybody can't. So, you know, Nick is nice enough to break it down for y'all and give it to y'all in pieces. So, you know, the 13 to, 15, 20-minute videos are very doable for a lot of people, man. So he has some breakdowns that he's came out with, him and Eric. Uh, man, they have some good content. So if you haven't yet, go over to his page, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Make sure you're ready for the Super Bowl preview. As Eric said, next week, man, tap in with him live. What day y'all running?
What's up?
What day y'all
What
running
day?
live?
We haven't talked about it yet. It's probably gonna be Wednesday or Thursday. One of those days. We'll get back to the people with more information when we're gonna be doing it live. But probably Wednesday or Thursday where we're gonna have our full preview. But yeah, I for some reason I just feel more confident in this game. I know we're playing Pat Mahomes. I know he's a boogeyman, but this offense doesn't scare me nearly like the Commanders' offense. They can go up and put up points, and like the Terry McLaurin touchdowns that he hit 2 explosive touchdowns on both of the past 2 games. You get Jaden Daniels that can go and hit 20-yard, 30-yard runs consistently. He's more of explosive as a runner. Like, yeah, even that Rams offense, I felt like that Rams offense was a better offense than this Chiefs offense, right? But if it's a close game at the end of the game, Pat Mahomes has the ball last. Well, I'm a little nervous at that point in time. But throughout the game, I feel like this defense is going to come and give them a lot of problems.
You had to say the one thing that would give me a heart attack.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's going to figure out, all right, where's the open guy here for 3 yards? And he's going to do that 4 plays in a row, first down, and he's going to do that all the way down the field, right? So they just can't be in that situation where it's, Pat Mahomes has the ball at the end of the game to win the game.
I say one thing, too. If you get the opportunity to get that ball from Pat in any form or way, as far as turning it over, don't drop it. It seems like every time somebody drop it, the next play, they make it like an amazing play for a touchdown. Just don't drop it.
It's the football gods. They're they're making you pay.
They're like, here you go. Oh, you didn't take it? Okay, well here you go.
Here's your punishment now.
It's like, nah, but I think overall, I'm kind of with you, man. Like, I think we fared way better this time than we did last time. And I wasn't 100% confident in like going into that game with like Miles Sanders and stuff of that nature. So I just didn't think he was dominant enough as a running back. And I knew we needed a run game. I knew we needed time of possession in that game. And just, looking at the overall, it was just like, oh, we didn't have any of the necessary like components in that game, like to just really take it out the hand. When we was up 10, bro, if we had safe, like I told somebody yesterday, if we go up 10 in this game and we're going into the fourth quarter, it's Barkley time. It's not going to be like, Jalen, we still need you to be the best runner and pass on the team. Like, we still need you to make all the plays continue going forward. Like, there's not going to be a chance where you get to, like, sit back and put the ball in somebody else's hands. We need you to do the whole kit and caboodle, which we've seen the outcome was he put up a pretty good game, but, I mean, it still ended up not being in his hand at the end. I think up 10 this game, and I think, like, coming out of the locker room up 10, Kansas City to get the ball. I think our defense will be more motivated to just get a stop, at least hold them to 3. To give. I don't think this defense will let them come out of half and go straight down the field for 7.
No, and when I look at just when I you make great points about the running game, right? They had what maybe 30 combined yards from the running backs, something like that, rushing in the Super Bowl. Jalen had to do everything. You don't get to win that time of possession battle, or you don't get to lean on it nearly as much when you have to pass the ball like that. Um, when you can be more balanced, it just makes everything else easier for your offense, and we've seen that in terms of Jalen's efficiency metrics in most aspects this season. But I just feel like the game plan is going to be better. Being able to take away what the Chiefs do best. Fangio is just much better at preparing the team for that and getting them ready for that kind of stuff. The Eagles were giving up, like, you go back to that season, they played a lot of really bad offenses, and when they played good quarterbacks, those good quarterbacks were able to move the ball against the defense. Versus this year, they've been battle tested. They played a lot of really good offenses, a lot of really good quarterbacks, and they're prepared now. They're not. It's not one of these things where we had these question marks about what happens against a Fangio defense against a top 10 quarterback. We had those questions about Gannon going against top 10 quarterbacks, and he failed pretty much every single time, right? This defense hasn't failed to that degree, right? They been perfect every game? No, they still gave up 250 passing yards last game. But I don't see the Chiefs throwing for 250 yards in this game. I don't see them putting up 30 something points like they put up in the last Super Bowl. I see the score being somewhere they're going to get in the 20s. If they score 24, do you feel confident about the Eagles winning that game? I do. I think the Chiefs score somewhere around 24, 25 points at most. And if that's what they score, I feel like you have to feel confident that this Eagles offense can go out there and win that type of game.
Um. Well, I mean, we don't. Let's see. I'm trying not to get into the defensive side. It's a lot to unravel. We still got another. You got a show coupled up on this week. Then we've got a follow-up show. So, I think the biggest difference in this team, um, to me, is probably our ability to run that pull scheme. I don't think we had that in our arsenal going into 2022. And I think if we did, it was very rarely used. I think this year, like putting your D line and your linebackers in that commotion to have to kind of sprint left or right or commit to the middle is kind of like that's kind of something we added to the game that I think we could. I don't think their linebackers are great. I think Bolton is average when it comes to the pass, coverage. I think Karlofskis and all those guys are pretty decent at rushing the passer. But what happens when you get put in conflict where you have to make that decision on the edge? When you have to decide if you're going to attack Saquon or attack Jalen. And then when you do, what do you do when he throws that nice dot right by your ear behind you to Dallas Goedert, who's on that little flat route where they seem to bring back, every now and again. I think this offense has a lot of ways that they can put that Kansas City defense in some turmoil.
Yeah, and we saw last week. It seemed like they went back to a little bit of the 2022 offense in terms of like their use of RPOs, screens as well, just to help out Jalen on early downs and give him some easy reads. Do we see some of that stuff in this game as well as adding all that stuff with the quarterback run game, like was so prevalent in their Super Bowl matchup last time that they played? Using some of that stuff that you talked about with pullers, where sometimes Saquon's getting it, but sometimes you're faking it to Saquon to run a sweep off the edge, and now Jalen Hurts is taking the ball up the middle behind two pulling offensive linemen, right? All that stuff that they do, all the misdirection and different kind of things that they do, I think can really benefit this offense and help, especially when Spags wants to get a bunch of guys up to the line of scrimmage. We saw what happened when the Rams did that. We can get our offensive linemen on their linebackers right away. That's an advantage for us, especially a guy like Mekhi Becton, who isn't the greatest working up to the second level. If you can get him with hands on a linebacker at the snap, that is a huge win for the offense, things like that. But I'll be interested to see, do they continue with that RPO heavy approach that they had in the Commanders game with the increase of their screens as well, the jet sweeps that they threw in there. Do we get to see some of that, continue to see some of that offensive game planning to make things easier for the offense and for Jalen, because that seems to be what he really thrives with, is those kind of things. And it seems like it's with the new offense coordinator, they're trying to figure out their quarterback as well. It feels like it took a lot of the season for Kellen Moore to start to figure out what Jalen Hurts likes to do, what he's best at, because every quarterback's different and good and better at different stuff, right? So I'll be interested to see the game plan this week.
Yeah, I think that's the crazy part. That first play when he calls the audible and they don't move, he's like, "Oh, you didn't move? Okay, we're gonna run it. We're gonna go back to the play we were gonna run it originally. I wanted to see if you were gonna spread back out when I go in the shotgun, but you're staying on the line. Okay." And it seems like this year, like stacking the box isn't the answer to stop taking. That's just not it. They're willing to call the run with you stack the box. They'll let that back end man or whatever trail because you got a long ways to go when he gets that ball. Because he makes moves so fast. I think what's like the best about him is like that ability to go from like gap A to outside in like the matter of like a step. And it's just like I was watching the play and he was like pressing the A gap. And the Rams linebacker like hits the hole. He squares up. He's like, all right, I got him. And by the time he realized what's going on, Saquon is going up the field. Like he's outside and going up the field. He's like, what happened? Like, and I was just like, wow. The amount of like, and it's like he's gone. And it's not like he's like, you know, like some guys like make that cut 2 times and then they gotta like get their speed up. It was like, and it's like, how can he move? Like it's like a bullet, bro. It's just so quick, and I think that's what really causes a lot of scrum in that stack box too, because it happened to the Commanders. Even on that toss play, he looks like he's about to like take it up a little bit earlier, and then he just like gets it outside, and it's like everybody like trying to readjust, but now this man's fall, and it's like a crowd of people, and then Wagner didn't make it any better. He just like falls over the rest of them. But I didn't realize until I seen him mic'd up that Jordan Mailata really caused all that conflict. He took his dude and was just like, like, so, and then he goes up to AJ. He's like, AJ, I'm sorry, but I seen like a bunch of dudes, and I didn't know what I could do to like kind of mess it up, so I just like threw my gun.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Like,
well,
boom, touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, with that offensive line, I mean, it's an offensive line paired with what Saquon Barkley can do, right? Because they create so much space up front. So Saquon's really good at pressing the hole, getting everyone to commit inside, and then he can bounce outside in an instant, right? He has that start-stop ability that's uncanny for a guy of his size, right? You only see that out of guys like you get Jahmyr Gibbs can do that stuff, but Jahmyr Gibbs also isn't 230 pounds, right? So it's amazing. Like you have to honor that inside run when Saquon is pressing it up the middle and then he bounces it outside, right? But it also, you need an offensive line that can create some space, that can create some movement up front. When you have an offensive line that's allowing a lot of penetration, you can't do all that kind of stuff, right? You don't have time to do that kind of stuff. You're not able to draw the linemen into the blocks, right? Invite the linemen into your blockers and help them out so that you can spring these runs outside. You don't get that ability with bad offensive lines. But you mentioned something at the beginning of Jalen checking into a play and then checking back into the original play, the first touchdown against the Commanders. And it's like that's part of why their run game is so good, is because they know the checks that they want to get to. When you come out in a certain front, they know exactly how they want to attack those fronts. He gets them into the plays that best attacks those fronts, and you add into it the threat of his legs, what they do with formations, what their offensive line can do, and how Saquon can play behind that offensive line like I was just talking about. It's like that's when you get this 2,000-yard rusher. You get this guy that's on the verge of breaking the record for the most rushing yards in an entire season, including the postseason, right? So just all that stuff melds together so well. It's even if this pass game hasn't been nearly as efficient as the run game, it's like they've created a really good running game through their design, through their organization and their system of checks that they can get to based on different fronts, based on the formations that they like to run, and using Jalen and his legs in the run game as well.
Well, We got some people in here. Shout out to my sis, Miss Ash. Rule said Eagles have a better team than 2 years ago. They are better in every position except quarterback. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a blowout like Bucks did. Chiefs, Eagles defense will get sacks and force turnovers.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I don't know if they'll force turnovers. They just don't turn the ball over. The Chiefs don't. They take good care of the ball. You can like when you're watching Kelsey run with the ball in his hands, he does an excellent job of putting that ball away. Right. If you go back and you look at they did a mic'd up of the Eagles versus the Commanders. I think it was Christian Parker talking about the Commanders don't respect the ball. You can punch that ball out. Some teams emphasize not turning the ball over. The Chiefs, without a doubt, emphasize not turning the ball over. So it'll be interesting to see how many turnovers we're able to get. I still imagine and think we can get some turnovers, at least one. But I don't know if we're going to come out here and get 3, 4, 5 turnovers in this game like we have been doing this entire postseason, right? But I do think we have an opportunity to go out there and go up multiple scores on them for the fact that they just don't do a good job of flipping the field and putting up points in an instant. It takes them some time to put points on the board, right? They've been in a lot of one-score games this season, and then you're going up against a team with the best defense, a team that creates explosive plays, puts up a lot of points themselves. I think you do have a recipe for the Eagles. Maybe not getting a blowout like that Bucks game because that Chiefs team had a really bad offensive line and they went and retooled some things so that they could get better on that end. But I feel like it's a game where they could end up winning by 2 scores. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but you just look at this team and it's the Chiefs team and unless the Eagles are going out there and have a stinker on offense, I don't feel like this Chiefs team is going to keep up with them point-wise with how they run their offense versus how the Eagles are able to run their offense.
I think in this last game, I think we've seen the best mesh. I think obviously Pittsburgh was probably the best pass game. The Rams game was probably the best run game. I think last week was the best mesh of everything combined. Were you able to be able to get you out on the edge and hit you, we were able to get it over the top, and then we were able to run the ball with the running back, quarterback. I mean, in every way we wanted to, we kind of was able to use the quick game. We was able to get into some rhythm where we was kind of, just running up pace offense, getting to the line, boom, boom, boom. I think that to me was the best all around game offensively I've seen from us all year. Where we were able to do a little bit of everything and be dominant in that manner. So I think we can kind of replicate some of that against Kansas City. I think exactly what you said. It's gonna be hard for them to keep up with us because what happens when we're and it's okay, they're scoring on every I think our offense can get into that rhythm where you're scoring on every drive. I believe Pat Mahomes is a great quarterback. With the offense he has, can he go down and just really 35, 42, 49? You know what I'm saying? If we keep scoring, can they keep scoring? That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know if I see that. I don't think we're going to go out there and we're going to be, I don't think it's going to be quite as easy as as the Commanders game. The Chiefs defense is better than that. But if they're the only way I see the Chiefs winning, if they win, it's got to be a low scoring game where it's 18 to 21, something like that. You get, some weird score. Jake Elliott's going to miss an extra point. Probably have to go for 2 at some point in time, something like that. But I feel like it'll have to be a low scoring game. If it turns into a game where the Eagles score 30 points, I don't see the Chiefs doing that. The Chiefs have scored 30 a couple times this season. They scored 30 last week when they had to play the Bills, but the Bills defense isn't as good as the Eagles defense, right? So I don't. You look at that Bills defense. We made this point. I don't know if it was on this pod or my pod, but one of the biggest talking points after that, the Rams put up 40 whatever points against the Bills, and everyone was like, "You don't want to see this Rams team in the playoffs." And everyone was talking about this. Jalen Hurts was the biggest issue for the Eagles and how it's going to be a problem in the playoffs. No one was talking about how the Bills' defense was a big problem for them going into the playoffs. And when they played a good offense, they were giving up points left and right. And that came and bit them in the ass against the Chiefs when you get to this game where they're losing, a close game where they allowed the Chiefs to score 30 points. Right? I don't think the Eagles go out there and allow them to score 30. I think it's going to be low 20s. And that's the game I see the Eagles winning.
mean, I think this game is gonna be interesting, man. I think we got a lot of things to get into in this matchup, but we are at the hour mark. You know what I mean? I know what you got coming. I'm ready to tap in with the videos, man. So what I mean, obviously you said this week is the offensive breakdown, so next week is defense.
Yeah, so
What
I'm
you got
probably
for the
gonna
people?
do yeah, so I've just been going through a lot of my tendency breakdowns, film breakdowns right now since I don't have to get a video out for Sunday's game, right? I've been doing a little bit of a deeper dive for this week. So probably a little script writing tomorrow, and then the first video will be out Sunday. Hope to have another video out on Monday about the offense. There will be a more trenches based video as well, looking at the battle in the trenches between these two teams. But there's going to be a video about this Chiefs offense, really trying to, what do they do in terms of Travis Kelce and Mahomes, but also you got to kind of pay attention to what Xavier Worthy does as well, because he kind of gives you a lot of clues into what's going to be happening based on certain down and distances, things like that. So there will be a couple of videos about that, and then we'll be flipping a defense later in the week and approaching that part of the game.
So again, there's 230 people in here right now with us, man. If you haven't yet, please hit that like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back next week, 5 o'clock Friday. This time will be the complete breakdown. I know y'all probably like, what? Well, they really didn't get into too much. Man, listen, we got a whole nother week. If you get into everything this week, then what do we talk to y'all about next week? So we'll be back next week with a complete breakdown. But through the time, waiting for us to come back, make sure you tap in. I'm always on here, pretty much 30,000 times a week talking to you guys. But Nick is dropping videos, man, with the great breakdown, all 22 focused breakdowns, man. He's giving it to you from every angle. He's also giving you some suggestions of how he would attack things, and how we do attack other teams and what we've done in these situations. So you can get a feel of what's going on in the field in real time. So what do you got for him before we leave, Nick? Any final words before we get up out of here?
Man, I'm excited for this game. I'm confident. I feel like the Eagles have the advantage in a lot of areas, and they're hungry. You can tell that this team really wants it. It's different between. There's a reason no team has ever won 3 in a row, right? I feel like this Eagles team is ready and prepared to take on this Chiefs team that has played a lot of one-score games. This Eagles team has gone out there and dominated throughout the season. The Chiefs haven't really done that, right? So I feel like this Eagles team has a big advantage. I'm excited. I'm very pumped for it, but you still got to go out there and play the game and do everything right. But I'm very excited for this game.
Well, man, it's always fly goes fly. It's always go birds, man. We'll be back with y'all next week. We'll be tapping in, man. But until next time, like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back. Peace.
Yo, Philly fam, back, back.